Great day, attractive thinker. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. This is where we support new and aspiring entrepreneurs with the mental tools that you need to live your dream, to manifest the life that you want to create, to change, to transform. You have goals that you desire to accomplish, and we have the tools to support you in getting that done. I trust that you already have your copy of the Attractive Thinker Experience on Amazon. You see, I have mine bookmarked because I have been using my copy just like I asked you to use your copy. And I want you to be prepared today because we're going to talk about something really special. Welcome my co-host, Tichet Bradshaw, to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it again and again. We get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be at peace and to be alive.
Yes, it is. It is a great day to be alive. Attractive Thinker, I trust you have your Attractive Thinker notebooks handy to capture these gems. Take these notes that you're going to need throughout the rest of your week until you see us again for the next episode of Beyond the Break. I want to just shine the light in an area today. Tisha and I are going to be talking about a power shift. A shift in power. Now, you might say, well, what is power? And again, in this experience, the Attractive Thinker Experience, which you will find on Amazon, I want you to understand that the first chapter in this Attractive Thinker Experience is strategically there for a reason. In order for us to accomplish, this is what I've discovered, in order for us to accomplish, anything great in life, when I say great, anything above average. This is what we do as attractive thinkers and visual encouragers. We don't live on the surface. We don't live under systems. We don't live under all these guidelines and rules. We embrace freedom. We live by divine power. We live by our inspiration, our intuition, our energy, what it feels like to us, what feels right to us. Now, you might say, well, Dr. Toni, everything that feels right is not right for us. That's where your discernment comes in at, because what's right for me may not be right for you. What's right for you may not be right for me. So it all goes back to where you feel as though you fit in life. Is it in alignment? These decisions and choices, experiences, circumstances that you experience throughout your life encounter, are they in alignment with your goals? What's right for me? My goals are different than your goals. My life's work is different than yours. My heart, the desires of my heart are different from yours. So it changes our decisions. That's why there are no cookie cutter, carbon copy, or formulas to life, because we're all so uniquely fashioned. We're all so uniquely different that the opportunities that present themselves to us, the choices that we have to make are different from the choices that other people make. That's why I don't believe in following the steps that someone else followed without also incorporating the wisdom that I've gathered along the way from my own life. Those are the steps, whoever it is that we're watching, be it a thought leader, a preacher, teacher, parent, whatever, they're sharing their experience and what worked for them. There's a lot from their experience that we can take and use it for ourselves, but don't forget to incorporate you in that process. Because if they had to jump through certain hoops and hurdles and leaps and bounds, those may not be the same hurdles, leaps and bounds that you have to jump through. They may not even fit your personality. They may not even fit your level of risk that you're willing to take for your life. So this is a personal journey. The Attractive Thinker Experience is personal. In this experience that you're going to find on Amazon, I've shared my gems and my jewels that I've gathered along the way. I've shared my processes and my journey and the lessons and the blessings that I've gathered, I've learned, the things that I've learned, the things that stood out to me, things that people often miss, things that I didn't know, a lot of programming that I released and how I shifted the power, like what we're going to talk about today. It took me a major shift in power. What do I mean by shift in power? Um, Power is something, like I said, that is required in order for us to live above and beyond the surface, above and beyond life, above and beyond what is humanly possible to accomplish with the life that we've been given. Now, when you're embarking upon something that has never been done before in your life or in your bloodline, something that you've never experienced, a risk that you've never, a level of risk that you've never had to take before. When you're embarking upon that, that is beyond your human capability. And it's going to require you tapping into a power greater than yourself. So when we talk about a shift in power, let me share just a tidbit of some experiences that I've had concerning power. You know, growing up in religion, growing up in the church, growing up in tradition, a lot of my power was given away. I gave away a lot of my power because I believed what other people were telling me. I believe what the preacher said about who God was and where I was going after this life's journey. And I believed in heavens and hells and what would make you go to heaven and what would support you in going to hell and things like that. I believed it because, you know, children believe what people of authority tell them. Now, along with that teaching and that belief in the program that was, you know, infiltrating my belief system, there was always something inside of me that wasn't at ease. It wasn't at rest about what I was learning to believe. It wouldn't allow me to fully plant my feet and settle. You know how you feel when you're experiencing something or something is presented to you. You know how you feel when you're in total joy or when you're in excitement or you're anticipating something. There's no resistance there. There's nothing holding you back or nothing holding you down or nothing troubling your spirit to lead you to believe that something about this is not right. That type of energy is not there. So your heart is fully open, you're fully trusting, you're fully believing. And that's once you're that open, whatever you're receiving and saying yes to, it gets fully in. It gets fully in. But all throughout my life, even though I was sitting under this religious entity and embracing these truths, you know, that they were teaching that were true, there was always this underlying energy. It was like all the doors were open except one. It was like all the answers were yes except one. And you could feel it. It's like you putting on your coat. You have your sleeve in and the coat is over your shoulder. You have your arm in one sleeve, the coat is over your shoulders. You may even have it zipped or buttoned up, but the other arm is not in the coat. Can you feel how uncomfortable that would feel? You could function like that. You could walk around like that with one arm in the coat and the other arm out, and the coat is fully on. It's fully buttoned and zipped, but you know it's uncomfortable and you can't fully function in that experience like that. And that's how I walked through a lot of many of the years of my life, trying to function under these beliefs, yet feeling like I wasn't fully home yet, feeling like I wasn't fully free. It didn't fully sit with me. It's almost like meeting someone, you know, or going into business with someone. You check off all the boxes, everything is in alignment except this one thing. And that one thing, once I addressed that, instead of me expecting my life to unfold from everything that's outside of me, I shifted the power. The more you get in touch with, you know, through the Attractive Thinker experience on Amazon, I show you there are exercises in there, tools and resources and action steps that you can take to get to the bottom and the root of your belief and your truth. Once you get to the root, you shift the power from thinking that things on the outside have to change or you have to acquire things on outside of you, to now you shift that power. You take your power back and understanding that you are who you've been looking for. Things aren't going to change until you change. You have the power to change your belief, and belief is everything. You have the power, just like our post today. If you visit our Facebook group or our YouTube channel for Beyond the Break 2020, then you'll see the episode that we posted today about it's not what you're going through, but how you're viewing it. The power, you realize now that the power that you have is in your perception, because it's not the situation, the circumstance, the, issue or whatever it is that you're facing. If you put another perception or another perspective on it, then you're able to function in a capacity, to shed, that you weren't able to function in that same situation before. And all of us have so many experiences with that happening in our lives. Situation didn't change. We decided to change perspective. And not only were we able to get through it, but we were able to thrive through it and take something from it, even though the situation didn't change. And that's, to me, that's like magical. That's magical. So when we talk about today, a shift in power, we're talking about you taking your power back from the things that are outside of you that you've given your power to, the things that you have believed all of these years that had to change in order for things to change in your life. Talk to us today, Tichet, about a power shift.
My. If you're watching us today, then clearly this is a message of the Spirit saying, take your power back. It's time to power up. It's time to shift your perception. It's time to release the things that have captured your power that wasn't of you. Dr. Toni, you said earlier about being uniquely different. See, the thing is all of us have a reason and a purpose for why we're here. We're not all the same, right? And as you said, there's no cookie cutter thing that we can do or say as far as concerning life, because what worked for me may not work for you, will work for you may not work for me, right? But when the thing about being uniquely different, and we have an episode called self-acceptance, right? Where we talk about accepting yourself, accepting your identity, accepting who you are, accepting that you are different than everyone else, and that is okay. Because for some reason, growing up, it felt like I want to say the world had this agenda of everybody just kind of being the same. They said, okay, this is how we had to look. This is how we had to dress. This is how we had to talk. And then some of us could not fit the bill. Some of us were different. Some of us couldn't talk like that and couldn't get comfortable no matter how we tried. We tried. Like for me, I have a problem with suits. Now, don't get me wrong. I look bad in a suit. I could wear that suit. But for some reason, it's not quite me, right? And so I have made myself wear a suit so many times, going back and forth to church, going back and forth to conferences and stuff like that, because I felt like that was expected of me. And so a lot of times we're putting our power in what's expected versus what our power really is. So in understanding that we are uniquely different, and that's okay, and we accept who we are, and we find our purpose and understand it and operate out of that purpose, and being okay with not looking like everybody else, we discover our uniqueness being like a privilege or an honor. And as we discover our uniqueness and we discover our journey, we can see what we are here to give to the earth. We can see what we're here to give back. Now that you understand yourself, you understand who you are, you also understand who you are not. Some people, if you don't know who you are, try looking at who you are not, and then see if you can go to the opposite, or see if it'll lead you to understanding who you are as a person. Because sometimes you may not know who you are right away, but nothing can show you like something that's showing you who you are not. I am not this. I am not that. I am not going to take on the role of this because that's not who I am. Well, who are you is calling at that moment, right? And so you have to remember that when you discover your unique abilities and your qualities in your journey, and you take control over that, you're taking you're taking over your power. And I want to read a definition of power. It says possession of controlling influence. Possession of controlling influence. It says possession of the qualities, especially mental qualities, required to do something or get something done. And also in physics, the rate of doing work measured in watts, right? So there's different definitions to the word power, but we see for the most part, it is the possession of controlling influence. One of the things that we look at is authority. These are some of the synonyms to power. We look at authority, strength, energy, influence, control, ability, capacity, potency. We see capability, electricity, right? When we see those synonyms, right, and we say control, we say authority, who are you giving your authority to, right? So if you want a power shift, you want to take the power from what to what? What are you giving your authority to? Are you giving your authority to fear? Are you allowing somebody else to dictate your life? Are you allowing somebody who says, this is the way life is, creating a box, the perimeters of the standard way of thinking, right? That's what we call a box, the perimeters of the standard way of thinking. Are you stuck in a box because you think that's how everyone should live, but the you inside you can't rest in it? So it's crying out. So now you have to take the authority from living in the box and come outside the box and risk discovering who you are. When you come out of the perimeters of the standard way of thinking and the standard way of being and the standard way of living, you risk walking right into the power of yourself. You risk understanding who you are, why you're here. You are risking it because you are allowing yourself to be different and accepting your differences and see how that benefits you going in the earth, making a difference, making your mark, leaving a legacy. Because how can we leave a legacy if we all look the same, if we all sound the same, if we all doing the same thing? So we have to not allow our fear to hold our power. We have to understand also, Dr. Toni, is what is our decision-making factor? What decision-making factor do we have in play? When it comes time to make a decision, what makes you go this way or that way, right? And you see that most likely that's what has your power. Some of us says we give God our power. God has the decision-making factor, but when you're honest with yourself, it's really money. So you make a decision based on how much money you have. You sit there and you won't go to coaching because you don't have the money. You won't go to some of these conferences because you don't have the money. Instead of saying, I'm going to find the opportunity to get the money, you let the fact that you feel like you don't have it stop you from getting the things that you want. Well, my thing lately, Dr. Toni, since shifting my power, I've said I'd rather have nothing at all than to settle for anything less than who I am. I'd rather leave that spot open, because as long as that spot is open, it'll create the urgency for me to get what I want, versus if I settle and put something that's of lesser value or lesser power, I'm settling for minimal energy. I'm settling for okay, this will do for now. You ever try to make do with something? You keep making do with something. That is your power being in anything else other than yourself. That is in you allowing yourself to be okay with accepting less. To be, and some people might say, you're full of yourself and things like that. It's okay. So when people say full of yourself, shouldn't that be a good thing instead of a bad thing? But if we look at it through the eyes of ego, it's a bad thing. But when you look at the eyes of spirit and you say full of yourself, you're full of power, because you are power. You are the power that you need. The power shift you need is in you. It's not in anybody else. Nobody else should be making a decision for your life unless you are underage and you have somebody that is a parent over you other than that. But still, though that parent should know and love you enough to know that the decision should be in your well-being. So we don't have time to put our power in other stuff, put power in the lack. We don't have time to put power in the fear. We don't have time to put power in what they said. They said I did this. They said I'm that. They said. You're giving your power over to somebody else who don't even know you like you know you. You know you're not this, whatever they said. You know you're not this monster. You know that you're not having ill intentions. But the minute that we go responding to that and allowing ourselves to feel the energy of what they said, we're giving our power over to them. So how do we take back our power? We take it back by us accepting who we are, understanding that everything has a purpose, understanding that me being unique is a benefit to the earth. We take back our power by believing in ourselves, understanding that we are here in these physical bodies to have an experience. You are going to make some decision that might not be the ideal consequence at the end, right? Because I'm starting to release the idea of making a mistake, and I'm starting to take on more of the idea that it just did not get the outcome that I thought it was going to have. It didn't have the outcome that I thought it was going to have when I made the decision. So I'm not saying that we don't make mistakes. I'm saying your perception of how you do something, it determines whether or not you made a mistake. But when you look over your life, even the thing that you chose that was like really bad still might have worked out for your good. You might have somebody who walked out on you in a relationship, somebody that walked out on you. Well, now you met somebody who can cherish you more than that. You might have a job that fired you. Well, now you have a business that's giving you fulfillment. You might have people that shunned you, but now you created a whole different spiritual family over here that match you. Where if you had those people taking the place in your life, you wouldn't have the need or the urgency to discover what's going on over here. So sometimes you got to be willing to let go of things that's holding on to you in order to find yourself and then hold on to that. You have to hold on to the power within. You have to trust the energy within. We all have discernment. I mean, not all of us don't have discernment, but we all should increase in discernment and understanding what's right for us and what's not, right? Because some of us, we give our power over to even our parents. We are over the age of 21, and we still making our parents responsible for every decision in our life. And the thing is once you are on your own, they can help you, they can help guide you, but they should not be your decision-making factor. It should be, as an adult, you're taking full responsibility of your life as an adult, right? You're taking full responsibility, and then you are accepting the consequences of that responsibility. Here's the thing. If I have to accept the consequences of my responsibility, I want to be responsible for what I felt right was in my spirit. When I go out here and do something, I want to know that I did it with my best intention. I want to know that I did the best that I could with what I knew at the time. And in that is no mistake. So this is why you have to have your power, because when you listen to your spirit and your spirit speaks, your spirit will tell you, don't go in there. You might feel that thing in the pit of your stomach. Don't go in there. You might not understand why, but your spirit do. You got to get to a point where you trust the power that's within you to follow it despite it not giving you all the details. So when we say power shift, we're taking the power out of everything that was holding us captive and putting it back into ourselves and setting us free. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Ooh-wee. That last part right there, that summed it up really, really nicely. Taking your power back from the things that you've given your power to. Tichet, I love how you say trust the power. You got to see, in order to take your power back, you have to trust that power is a real thing and power is activated in your life. Power is what you need to create your life going forward. So, we're talking about a power shift, but I want attractive thinkers and visual encouragers to be clear as to how are you giving your power away? Sometimes we give our power away to shit and we don't really know that that's what we're doing. We give our power away when we say yes when we should have said no. That's a big one right there. Saying yes when you should have said no. You know in your heart that the answer is no for you. The answer is no for me. But because of the situation, circumstances, or you don't want to hurt people's feelings, or they don't have anybody else for the position, you can do it. Um, you want them to be able to reciprocate and do a favor for you if you do a favor for them. All kinds of reasons why we say yes when we should have said no. You don't want them to be by themselves. Somebody might say, well, let's go out. You may not want to go. This might not be your day to go out. This may be your day for self-love and self-expression and quiet time with yourself. And because they asked, you said yes. When inside in your spirit, you felt no. And this is what happens when we say yes and we should say no. We're not looking forward to getting dressed to go to the event. We're not looking forward to preparing for it. We're complaining while we're getting dressed or doing our hair or whatever it is we need to do. We see how the result is not going to be good because your mind goes ahead of you all the way through the experience, through the outing or the social event or whatever it is. Your mind, while you're standing there getting dressed, your mind is already at the end. It's at the end of the experience and the event, and you see how the result is going to turn. You already see yourself. I have to go to bed later. I'm not going to get the rest that I need because I stayed up, or now I got to push my deadline back. I had a deadline, I had a client, or I had to go to a meeting the next day. Now I have to either cancel or reschedule or postpone or move that, or I know I'm not going to, get the rest that I need, or it's going to push my day back, or I know this is going to if I don't get the sleep that I need tonight, it's going to set the pace for my energy tomorrow. Your mind is doing that while you're getting dressed, saying yes to something you should have said no to. So you gave your power away. And we're all guilty of that. We gave our power away when we said yes. Another way that we give our power away is we allow things, systems, and entities and people to hijack our belief. And we begin to believe what they want us to believe because, people in high places know that the way you control a people is to control what they believe. If you can get a person to believe something, then they'll take the action that you want them to take based on the belief that you programmed into their subconscious mind, based on the belief that you convinced them to believe. So that's a way of giving your power away. So in order to take your power back, you have to consider what it is that you're believing about these specific areas of your life and ask yourself, is this my belief or is this someone else's belief? Where did this belief come from? Do I believe this because I believe it? Or do I believe it because they told me to believe it? When you begin to sift through your beliefs and make sure that they're yours and not someone else's, that's a form of taking your power back because your belief is everything. Your belief is your power. Another way that we give our power away to shed is we allow thoughts to run rampant in our head and we don't check them at the door. So, for example, giving our power away is whatever thought comes to your mind, that's what you believe. You're getting ready to enjoy an experience, an accomplishment, or a social event, or a surprise, an anniversary, birthday, whatever it might be. And those random thoughts that come to us all begin to bombard your mind. Oh, this outfit is not going to look nice on you. Or, oh, you're too fat or you're too skinny. Or the people, nobody's going to come. That's a big one. Nobody's going to come to your event, or you're not going to be received well, or somebody's going to be there that's going to ruffle your feathers. And your mind just comes. I think, Tichet, that the mind throws so many things out there, hoping that something will stick, hoping that something will stick that will make you retreat and stop and pull back and stop creating, stop believing, or make you feel bad about yourself. So how do you take your power back in your thoughts? You pause when you realize your thoughts are running rampant. You pause. You don't keep doing what you're doing. Put the makeup down, put the dress down, put the briefcase down. You pause so that you can confront this thought. And then you give it up empowering thought. You say, you know what, this event that I'm going to, it's going to be fantastic and amazing because I'm going to be there. And all of a sudden, the thoughts that are running rampant in your head, they begin to stop and they lose their momentum in your life. And you think of another empowering thought. See, just catching it, Tichet, puts a smile on my face. When I catch these thoughts that are running rampant in the background and I confront them, I know that's half the battle right there, because I'm aware. When you become aware that it's happening, see, not being aware that this is happening, you're being bullied. You're being taken advantage of. You're being bulldozed over all throughout your entire life. But just pausing and catching it while it's happening, you're able to stop the flow of it. Those thoughts aren't coming as fast. They aren't coming as quick. They're not making you feel bad like they used to. And then you use your attractive thinker experience that you purchased from Amazon, and you look for another thought. You apply another thought, an empowering thought, because in the book we talk about how to how to flip these disempowering thoughts and turn them into empowering thoughts so that you can move forward in your life with that flow and ease that we all talk about, without feeling that weight and that heaviness and that pressure and constantly feeling like you're doing something wrong. You could be doing the right thing, but that wrong energy, that weighted energy can make you feel, not wrong energy, but the weighted energy can make you feel like you're doing something wrong. So you take your power back in your thoughts by intentionally using an attractive thinker thought. That's a process of thinking attractively. Another way that we give our power away is when we settle for for less than what we really want. You wanted the chocolate chip cookie, although it was one left on the plate. Instead of you choosing the chocolate chip cookie, you say, "Oh, no, no problem. You can have it," and you choose the snickerdoodle, and you don't even like snickerdoodles or sugar cookies. You don't even like those. Who's winning when we settle for less than what we deserve? Who's winning? The other person didn't win because just because they got what they wanted. Because if they are true, if number one, if you're socializing with them as an attractive thinker, they are people that are on your frequency, your level. They want you to be your best. They support you in being your highest self. So they didn't win just because they got the chocolate chip cookie, because you aren't your highest self. You didn't get what you wanted. And people around you that care about you, they care about you also getting what you want.
Mm.
I want you to think about that. So nobody's winning. You didn't win because you didn't get what you wanted. They didn't win because although they got what they wanted, you're connected to them and you didn't get what you wanted. So you're not showing up as fully you. And I use a cookie as a simple example. What about a business partner? You settle for someone who has the money to fund your business, but they don't have the mental fortitude, or the inner a foundation isn't built. They don't have the character. They're not trustworthy, or they don't respect you. So who's winning? Who's winning when we settle for less than what we really want? And we're all guilty of it in some kind of form or fashion. We've done it with something small as a lollipop. We've done it with friends growing up. We settle for having certain people in our lives because we don't feel as though we can have the people that we want in our lives. And we settle for having certain people in our lives because we don't want to be alone. Can you imagine the type of person that you can bring into your life just because you don't want to be alone? Can you imagine what we put ourselves through by bringing any and everybody into our lives that don't qualify, all because we don't want to be alone? So that's a form of giving your power away. So in order to take your power back, you have to sit down and, like you say, Tichet, I love how you said, go through this area with a fine tooth comb and sift through these relationships that we have built along the way and ask ourselves, is this in alignment with who I really am? And you can sit with it and see how you feel. Remember, I said that feeling that I had, everything, all the other boxes were checked, but it was this underlying feeling that something was off, something was missing, something wasn't right. Something still was disconnected. I didn't fully feel me. I didn't have the full experience of freedom, total freedom, because it was always this nagging little energy hovering around everything that I did, making me feel like there's something else that needs to take place instead of just this. You know how you get what you want and you still don't have that feeling that you thought you would have? Or it still doesn't um, cause a shift in your life like you thought it would? That feeling right there, that's the feeling that I'm talking about. And when you realize, as we're sharing with you today, how we, because you might say, well, Dr. Toni, how in the world am I giving my power away? Just tell me how I'm giving my power away, because I don't know. These are ways that we subtly give our power away every day, all day, and we wake up tomorrow, we do it again because we don't know that we're doing it. Now you know. Now you know, attractive thinker. So you have to sit with it. Again, we encourage you to listen to this message again, because we do. We don't put these messages out and we don't listen to them ourselves. I'm just going to be honest with you here, as we always are. These messages are not scripted. We don't have notes. The only notes that we have are the notes that we take while we're talking to you. The things that are coming up in us while we're talking to you. If Tichet is talking and something is coming up in me, I'm being inspired by something or getting wisdom or something, or the light is coming on in an area that I think it would benefit you, I'll take a note on it. So when she's finished sharing her message with you, I can share what came up for me while she was talking. Those are the only notes that we have. The only thing written in my notebook when we go live is the title. We decided
Okay.
we're agreement on the title, the topic that we're going to share with you today. All the pages are blank. So I'm sharing that because I want you to know that what you're getting from these Beyond the Break episodes is power. It's fire and power. It's something that's going to make you come alive. It's going to make that thing inside of you come alive. It's in alignment with all of divine power. It's in alignment with all that you will ever need in this life. It's in alignment with your truth. It's in alignment with positioning you and moving you into a place whereas you can stand in your own power and you can stand in your own freedom and you can stand flat-footed and open your own mouth and create your own life and think your own thoughts and believe what you want to think and declare what you want to happen. And I mean, think about it. Think about an emergency situation for a minute. This is what's coming to me again while we're talking. Think about an emergency situation. You're driving along, or you're walking along, or you're in your office, or taking your kids to school, or in the supermarket. Just think about any type of situation you could find yourself in the course of a day. If something unexpected happens, the first response is for fear to set in, to run, retreat. Some people curse, some people cry, whatever that might be. But when you understand that you are power, when you've taken your power back, when you've made that power shift, see, defining moments cause a power shift. Going through a break, be it a break in a success or a heartbreak, it'll cause a shift in power. So these experiences unexpectedly happen. And because you've taken your power back, you can now say, no, 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 that's not going to happen here. You can now speak to it because you have your power. You know that you have power to overpower experiences and things that could happen in the course of your day, because you're activating your power. You're fully in belief. You believe that this is who you are and this power works. This power is real and it works, and it has to be applied. So you can open your mouth and say, and here's the deal, when you begin to develop yourself so much in this power and understanding who you truly are, you don't even have to think about what you're going to say when things happen. It just flows right out of your mouth, just like automatic. It's just like a natural thing, like faith. Your belief begins to speak. Your faith begins to speak when you need it the most, when you're faced with something. And that's power. That's power. While everybody else is running or crying or being distraught, you're speaking in faith and power. And that's why, attractive thinker, you always get an outcome that's different from everybody else's. That's why, because you stand in faith and power while everybody else is scattering and running and falling apart because of life. That's why you might say, well, Dr. Toni, I understand power. Why is it important for me to have power? That's why. So you can master life and its circumstances. So you can take, when experiences happen, you can take the opportunity and deal with the challenge. Back to you, Tichet.
Wow, I don't even know where to start. One of the things that Dr. Toni, you were talking about when we do the show, it's not scripted, right? Um, a lot of people might not know, but the reason why we do the show is because this is how we were talking to each other every Monday. We wanted to basically videotape our Mindset Monday. So the reason why I brought that up is because imagine having conversations where you transfer energy, thoughts, and ideas during a conversation. Those energy, thoughts, and ideas are good for expansion. It causes you to expand. Like she said, we're sitting here with a notebook paper while she's talking, I'm writing, while I'm talking, she's writing. And that's because it's igniting us to think a different thought. So you hear stuff coming out of us in the show that we might have not even known was there, but because we trust the power that's within us, we give it room to show itself on this recording. We give it room to do what's necessary, and we trust it. We don't second guess, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe I shouldn't do this. Now, I say how you do anything is how you do everything. When you consider having a relationship where you can fully be yourself in full power, having all kinds of relationships match that. So not just in a domestic love relationship, not just in a friend relationship, but in a business relationship, in a neighbor relationship, if you're in the church relationship, in a family relationship, having a relationship that ignites who you really and truly are. Now, some of us, even though we have given away our power, and this episode is showing you it's time for that power shift. It's time to take your power back. Mm-hmm. Some of us, we might think, okay, Dr. Toni just gave you a whole list of how you gave away your power. Mm-hmm. Now, how you taking back your power, understanding that what's holding it to, right? Like she just told you. One of the things that I thought about, Dr. Toni, is guilt. Guilt, that guilt, shame, and fear will hold your power. So you feel, like you said, you talked about when you take the cookie, you feel guilty for taking the one you want. And so you don't take it so that everybody else can be happy, and you're sitting there with nothing, even though the one you wanted was presented to you and you were the one that got there first, right? Because a lot of times we'll pass up opportunities to do things we want because of guilt. Yes. We'll sit there and we'll say, well, I can't do that business because I can't walk away from this job because, what am I going to do for money? Or what happens if you said those thoughts running rampant? I remember one day you, on one of your masterminds, Dr. Toni, you had a little hanger full of these thoughts. Yes. And you said we go through all of these thoughts a day. And I looked at the paper on that hanger and I said, good Lord. Because see, before I was mindlessly going through life. So when I say mindlessly, meaning I wasn't thinking about what I was eating. I wasn't thinking about what I was hearing. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just going through life and responding, going through life and responding. I was taking no responsibility for what took place in my life, right? And so when I looked at those thoughts on there, and I'm like, gosh, how can I keep up with thoughts? If our thoughts can't run rampant in our head, how am I supposed to keep up with thoughts? The first thing I thought about, it's going to take some discipline. You said you get excited now when you get exposed to a thought that is challenging. You get excited now because you're just not going to let it do, let it play out and let it do what it do. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, we check them at the door. I laugh because we have a play.
That's right.
And she said that. She said, you got to stop letting them thoughts run rampant in your head. You check them at the door. Y'all got to see that. It's on your website, right?
Yes, it's on the
Yes.
website, yes, and it's on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. It's called Out with the Old, In with the New. Yes, but
Yeah.
check our website.
See,
Yeah.
that fits. Power shift. Out with the old, in with the new. And that's what we're saying. There's an opportunity to have in with the new, but you got to get rid of the guilt. You have to face the fear. So what's the worst that can happen if you take that position?
Yes, yes.
If you take that position that you feel in your spirit is something you really want, what's the worst that can happen? Face it. Is it? Is that really going to happen? Or is that another thought that ran ramping in your head and start becoming infectious? You know what I mean? Is that really you thinking that you can't do it? Or do you feel like they said you can't do it? So you took on the fear of not being able to do it or not being able to complete it, because some of us can be afraid of success. Some of us can be afraid of power because we might have not have never seen anybody have it, because everybody else been giving their power over to this. There's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, but if you're waking up every day in pure misery to go to a place to give over your power for somebody that's going to tell you when to eat, when to sleep, when to be around your children, or when to do that in exchange for money and you don't get nothing else, you're operating where the money has your power, where the people at your job, your boss has your power. How do you switch it over? Perhaps finding a job or a business that has to deal with something you actually like to do. We got millions of things. I'm just finding out I love to DIY and create and all that stuff. I am over 40 and I am just realizing that I like all of the tools and the woodworking and the glitter and the all that stuff, right? So I had to sit with myself and I saw that it was there ever since I was a little girl. I would play with my grandfather's tools. I didn't know. I was just trying to build a go kart out of a lawnmower to ride down the street, right? And why was I doing that? Because I was into tools and stuff and didn't even know. I thought I just wanted to ride down the street. See, it's more to it than you know. When you sit with yourself and you see those situations and circumstances, you start to say, wait a minute. That wasn't just because I felt like riding down the street, because I rode down the street, but then I got some more tools and I did something that I thought was fun. I painted his fence with mud. I mean, my grandfather was mad. Sorry, granddaddy. My grandfather was mad. But I painted and I was enjoying myself painting. And I'm saying, why was I doing all of that? I was using his good wood, his good nails, and I was painting his good garage. Call myself doing something. I like to make change at an early age. And I didn't know that until I sat with myself and assessed all of my whys. Why do I do it this way? I assess what ignites me, what makes me feel. I assessed all of that and what makes me feel. I looked at all of that and I used those as indications. See, when we discover the truth about ourselves, you don't beat yourself over the head with that truth. You allow yourself to face it, take responsibility for it, and live it. Because some of us will see a truth about ourselves and we'll say, oh, I can't believe I did this. And we'll beat ourselves over the head. Unnecessary self-abuse, right? We'll beat ourselves over the head with the truth. It's not there for you to feel guilty for. It's not there for you to feel bad about. It's not there because you did this. And now you ever think a thought from 20 years ago and you feel embarrassed that you almost want to, you know what I mean? You want to hide behind a notebook or paper under the covers in the closet and nobody else is thinking about that but you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Thoughts running rampant in your head and you not checking them. Nobody's thinking about that but you. But you thought that so strong that it made you want to hide. That thought brought forth an energy that made you do action. We're saying, watch the action you take, watch the energy that caused that action, because that energy is coming from an emotion, which is coming from a thought that was running rampant in your head. So when we get the discipline to try to you can't control every thought, but you can control some, right? Because it takes a lot of discipline to be able to control every thought. I don't know if anybody has ever got there. I'm just saying I have never been able to control every thought, but I control a lot of them. Now that I'm mindfully going through life. Remember I said I was mindlessly going through life, not eating anything and not being, not thinking about what I was putting into my body or what I was doing in my body, working, not having a thought about whether I even liked the job. I was just glad at how much it paid. Getting up every day, giving away my power to people. I had to go back to mindfully living life. The way that I had to take on that power is I had to release the guilt, which means I had to face it. So I had to do some of the things I wanted to do as long as it was not hurting anybody. I had to do some of the things that I was being called to. And I had to, believe it or not, I allowed myself to face the fear of what the responses was going to be from everybody else. You know what happened is the thoughts in my head was greater than the response I actually got. Some of the people that I thought would care didn't care. Some of the people that I thought wouldn't care cared so much to support me. See, you never know. You never know what's there until you start finding who you are. When you start finding who you are and start loving who you are, you see who don't and what don't. When you love who you are, it's impossible to stay in situations, circumstances, relationships that don't match that energy. It's hard to keep going forth and and having self-abuse by keep talking that negative self-talk in your mind. That self-abuse, that's not loving yourself. Loving yourself is understanding where that thought comes from, confront it, face it, and then give it a counteracting thought that is also true, that can be true. Because you might think, for instance, you might say, well, I don't want to take on another business because my business failed. And you're afraid of failure, right? I tell my daughter, go out there and mess up hard. It's how you clean up that makes the difference in the world. Why? Because I don't want her to go out there afraid to make a mess. You got to sometimes get your hands dirty to know some stuff. You got to get out there and get all in the ground and start doing stuff to make. You can't just be all, I don't want to make a mess and I don't want to do this. I don't want to make a mistake, and you being extra careful. How is that living? How will you ever discover something about yourself that you didn't know was there unless you start digging up some of that dirt? You got to dig it up, get your hands dirty. But I wanted her to go out there and make a mess, but I wanted her to know that there's consequences to every decision you make, but you be bold enough to face those consequences and then figure out the challenge of how to make that right, how to make that decision right. And then if you can't make it right, you have to allow yourself the guilt-free permission to forgive yourself for doing what you thought you knew at the time, for doing the best you could with what you thought you knew at the time. You got to forgive yourself, and that guilt would do that. Another thing, Dr. Toni, when we are giving away our power, that causes stress, right? Because we're not operating in passion. We're operating under stressful conditions. That causes a restriction. Not only is it a restriction on your immune system, it is a restriction on your spirit. Your spirit is not at peace. When your spirit is not at peace, you're making decisions that does not match peace. You're making decision out of emotion. You're making a decision out of that fear you got going on. You're making a decision where you can't even hear clearly because your spirit feels restricted. Your spirit feels compressed. You know, you ever go through some situations and you feel like somebody else has more power, so they should be the one to make all the decisions, and you just sit there and go, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, no problem. No, that's not living. That's being a puppet. We are not here to live as puppets. We are here to have our own power. We're here to figure out what our power is, what has held our power this time, shift it, and then live out our power freely and unapologetically. It is time to live out our power. We have to have the discipline. Some of us, it's going to take moment to moment. Some of us, it's going to take moment to moment for us to see how we, okay, what I mean by moment to moment, every situation that takes place, right? You can't go too far ahead of yourself, right? You don't want to go too far in the back. At this moment, you're just doing the best you can. That's it. Just make the best of that moment. Make the best of that decision and see where that leads you. Do the best that you can with what's ahead of you, right? We all have a vision. We all have goals. If you're watching this, you're a visionary. You know, you have goals, you have dreams that you want to accomplish. But when the moment comes, you may not know how to get from where you are to the vision, dream, or goal, but you know that vision is there. And I'm saying at this moment, choose love. Choose love for yourself. Choose love for your spirit. Choose power. Choose the best, doing the best that you can do with what you're given, despite what happened in the past, despite the fear, despite the guilt. Allow your power to shine. We can't be afraid to let our power shine because we don't sound a certain way, or because we don't look a certain way, or because somebody else didn't ordain us. We don't have power. We have power. We've always had power. That power was there waiting to be used, like a lamp that's not plugged in. Like a lamp sitting on your desk that's not plugged in or doesn't have the right light bulb. We're saying change your light bulb and plug in. Change your power and plug in. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. Well, attractive thinker, I trust you have your notebooks handy, because while Tichet was talking, I have some powerful truths that I would like for you to consider. And on your entrepreneurial journey, or on your journey to change and transformation, Tichet, you mentioned that when you discover the truth about yourself, don't beat yourself over the head about it. That stood out to me because we do that based on a belief. When we discover a truth about ourselves, we begin to believe something about that truth that we discovered. 9 times out of 10, it's not an empowered belief. When we discover a truth about, see, this is why people don't sit with themselves, but attractive thinkers do. We do our work. A lot of people are afraid to sit with themselves because they're afraid what they're going to discover. They're afraid about what truth they're going to find. And you specifically said, when you discover this truth, and we talk about that in the Attractive Thinker Experience, the book that you're going to purchase on Amazon. And I call it an experience and not a book because it is a transformational experience. And attractive thinkers understand that now. So when I mentioned the Attractive Thinker, I'm talking about the Attractive Thinker Transformational Experience on Amazon. We talk about that, and we give you tools for sitting with these truths that you're going to discover within yourself, because it's not about beating yourself up. What is the point in discovering a truth and then take that truth and destroy yourself with it? The purpose of discovering the truth is so you can assess it, you can shape it into what you want it to be, because we have to do this all throughout our lives, to shape, because we're ever growing and changing. The assessments that I did on my life in my 20s are not the same assessments and the truths that I acquired or discovered about myself in my 40s. It's just like, all throughout our lives, in order to keep a healthy body, you're going to have, detoxes and, fasts and things that you do to keep your body healthy and clear and clean. You have to do that with your mind as well, going throughout your life while you're on this journey to acquiring, evolving, creating, manifesting, living your dream, following your heart, all of that. It calls for a moment in time where as you sit with yourself and you allow your truth to come to the surface, and then you sit with it. You don't beat yourself up about it, but you sit with it and you look at it and you assess it and say, does this truth still serve me today? I acquired this truth in my 20s or 30s. Now that I'm 40 or 50, is this still a truth that will support me in thriving throughout the rest of my life? Our beliefs are going to fluctuate throughout our lives. Just like you were talking earlier, Tichet, about that level of consciousness. It's not fair to judge a child with an adult perspective, because they're not at that level of consciousness, that they haven't evolved. Some things are not taught. You can teach a child different things, but some things they learn because they're at a level of growth to receive them. Some things they just understand because they've grown to that level of understanding. It's not something that they acquire because somebody taught them. So I wanted to share that about truth, because truth hurts. And like Tichet said, when you discover it, this is not the time to start beating yourself up about it. So when I mentioned, I took some notes. When you begin to beat yourself up about the truth that you've discovered, it's only because of the belief that you have attached to it. And the belief means the belief about yourself, whether you're good enough, worthy enough, smart enough, thin enough, rich enough, whatever that might be. And I say that because we do that to shed, because we believe that if that hadn't happened, whatever that truth is, or if we hadn't experienced this or that, then we wouldn't be where we are today. That's where a lot of the pain comes from, with the truths that rise within us, the truths that we have to face. We feel as though, or we believe that if you could change what happened, or if you can change what you experienced, or if you can change what you said, then you would have been able to change the outcome or change who you are today. What if that's not the case? And I made some notes about this. What if you don't know what actual circumstances led to the outcome that you received? What if those truths or beliefs that you're thinking about right now, or thoughts, they weren't even involved in this experience? What if what you're thinking were not the thoughts that were considered to shape the experience? See, there's a lot that goes into shaping experiences. If you watch the movie Butterfly Effect, you can see how different things played out to make different things happen, and how if you go back and try to change them, is no guarantee you're going to get the result that you thought what you would get if those situations did not happen. So we're not in control of that. We who can really say, to Shet, that if this didn't happen, that would not have happened? Really? There are other factors involved in our experiences besides us and how we feel and what we want. Life is endless. Knowledge and wisdom are endless. Our purpose and potential are sometimes not even on our radar. We have no idea. We are discovering our purpose and potential as we go. So it's not fair for us to pick and choose circumstances and events and say, if this had not happened, then that would not happen. What if that had not happened and you still got the result that you got? How do you process that? So I'm saying this to lift the weight and take the weight off of us, to sitting with ourselves and discovering our truths, and take the label off of the truth. Just let truth be. Just let truth be. It is what it is. Just let it be. And then you decide what you want to believe about it going forward. And you choose a belief that's an empowering belief that will help you to forge through whatever you have to face while you're on your journey to accomplishing or creating or living the life that you want. That's an empowering way to face your truth. So another thing that came to me to shed is, what if you say, well, and this is an option. See, the options are endless on how you can get through this feeling of facing your truth and feeling bad about it. What if you just simply say, well, I'm not sure why this happened, but I made it. I'm not sure why this happened, but because I made it through, I'm going to keep on living. So many times in my life, I tried to sift through certain things and make sense of things. And I had to come to the conclusion, I don't know why or how this happened, but I believe it'll be revealed to me as I go. I can't stay stuck here trying to figure this out. Because after I figure it out, then I'm doing what Tichet said. I'm gonna beat myself over the head with it because I feel like I should have made a better decision, or I should have said yes when I said no, or should have said no when I said yes. And you're going down a whole nother rabbit hole. Free yourself. Instead of doing that, free yourself and say, I really don't know why this happened, or why I had to experience this, or why this came my way. But I'm going to keep going because I know who I am. I'm going to keep going. It'll be revealed to me as I go. And it specifically, sometimes in our lives, the specific answer may not be revealed to us, but parts and pieces of it that help us grow will be. That part will be revealed to us. So another thing you said, Tichet, was loving yourself. Is that's where the real power is. I added that that's where the real power is, but you talked about loving yourself. And when you said it, I heard a voice said that's where the real power is. You have to love yourself. When you love yourself, you're not going to treat yourself any old kind of way. When you love yourself, you put yourself first. When you love yourself, you prefer yourself. When you love yourself, like Tichet said, you don't beat yourself up over the head over the things that happened in your life, previously, or the truths that you discover. So you also said, Tichet, and I like this, you have to get your hands dirty to discover some things. When you said that, one of the things that came to me is that people are afraid to make big moves because they don't want to make mistakes. And when I heard that voice, I immediately understood that most of the time when people are pursuing goals, they're pursuing them in a at an angle that they don't make mistakes, instead of pursuing the goal to accomplish it and enjoy it. So they're out here pursuing goals and making decisions to minimize mistakes, instead of pursuing the goal, making decisions to increase their joy. That's two different energies in which you're pursuing your goal. If a football player is running down the field and his main goal is to not make mistakes, when his main goal should be making a touchdown. Now, those are two different focal points. What do you think is going to happen if his sole focus is to not make mistakes? He's going to make all kinds of mistakes trying to get to that goal, the end of that field. But if his sole focus is to make a touchdown, what do you think is going to happen? The mistakes that he could have encountered along the way are off of his radar. They're not even considered. He's going to bypass so many different things that he'll never be made aware of, because that wasn't his focus. He wasn't focusing on the mistakes. He was focusing on the goal. So I hope this is helping you, attractive thinker and visual encourager, today to understand that you have the power. Understand that your focus has power, your perception has power, your belief has power, your thoughts have power, your words have power. How you want to pursue these goals in what energy has power. Your energy, what you bring to the table, all of that is your power. And we encourage you to take your power back and create a life that reflects your heart, your desires, instead of taking action, like Tichet said, these risks and these big moves, instead of taking action, tiptoeing through life, looking around every corner, trying to make sure you dot these I's and cross these T's. Free yourself and understand that mistakes aren't setbacks, because attractive thinkers learn from everything. They're gems to us. They're gems. We experience a setback. We're like, okay, no, we're not going to panic. No, okay, everybody just be quiet because this is what we're going to do. We have this goal. Yes, we didn't anticipate that we would encounter this or that, but what if it's something that we can use in it to help us reach the goal? So let's start sifting through this and see what we can use to help us reach the goal. You hear people say a setback is an opportunity for a comeback and all these little cliches that people say, but it's a real thing when attractive thinkers take an experience, a challenge, that an obstacle they've encountered along the way that they did not anticipate, and they say, oh, here's something we can use. Because if you have that perspective and that focal point, you're going to find something that you can use. Tichet, give us some wrap up comments and tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
I mean, it's so much to unpack here that it could take us days. But one of the things that you said is free yourself. So I wanted to say that take your power and free yourself. Take your power and free yourself. Take responsibility from this point forward to take your power and free yourself. I didn't want to just go past that. If you made a mistake, it's okay. I'm here to tell you it's okay. You did not make a mistake, right? What's done is done. You can't go back and change anything. You can't go back and you can't focus on what's in yesterday except for your lessons and your blessings, right? We always talk about when you look back, you're looking for lessons and blessings. You don't have to take the whole thing, all that baggage on your shoulder. We're saying release, take your power and release yourself and set yourself free. We have all kinds of things going on. Dr. Toni has in her book stuff that in the back of that book, she got those power words and things that you can say to yourself, some affirmation that you can put on your wall to help you understand your power and help you stay committed to your power. You can, on my power wall, I have all kinds of statements and things like that that has helped me to take my power, that has helped me to fight for my right to have a beautiful life. And so you can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers. All you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself freely. Go to my contact us page, put in your information, let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you beyond the break. Again, my website is www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tichet. Attractive thinkers and visual encouragers, I want you to understand that all throughout your day, you may encounter things things internally and externally that are trying to take your power. One of my favorite movies, everybody knows I'm an Incredible Hulk fan. And in that particular movie, there was another entity there that said to him, and he was trying to take his power, was jealous that he had this kind of power. And that entity actually said to him, you don't deserve this power. I want you to think about that for a moment. All throughout our day, internally, we talked about their thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, and all that stuff. And externally, people, places, and things are always trying to take our power, take your energy. You've heard the phrase energy vampires. All of that stuff is about power, okay? Because if you don't have any energy, you don't have any power. I want you to consider that. Reread your notes in your attractive thinker notebook that you took today. Listen to this message, not one time, not two times, not three times, but over and over and over again until you feel your power rising back up to the surface and you're able to confidently stand up in your life and take your power back and use your power. It's not just about taking your power back, but use it to help you reach your goals, to help you overcome obstacles in your life. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach, and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru, where we support you with mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance for new and aspiring entrepreneurs. You always hear us say, our life's work, that is to make your life better. Remember, It is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively. And we'll see you soon.